Hello, dear readers. Welcome back to another edition of What You Readin'. People ask me all the time, as a professional comic book writer, given my esteemed status in world culture, what do I read when I'm not writing? What do I read for pleasure? What do I read for entertainment? What do I read for information? And that's the purpose of this little gathering. Is for me to give you an opinion on something I read recently. I picked up this novel, The Madmen of Benghazi. Something about the description in the Amazon listing intrigued me, and it is by Gerard de Villiers, who, once I started reading this, I had to know more about this writer. And basically what it is, it's a novel, it's a spy novel, very much in the vein of Ian Fleming, James Bond. It's written by a French author. These are translated into English. And I didn't know how long this guy had been around and how extraordinarily popular he was. This guy's an international bestseller with hundreds of millions of copies in print. He's written over 200 of these novels. They were reprinted for a while here in the 70s. Under a series Malco, which is a series published by Pinnacle Books that I vaguely remember seeing on the stands, but nothing about the covers made me want to read them, which is a pity, because wow, this is great slam bang action entertainment. Madmen of Benghazi is set during basically the fall of Libya. Remember when Muammar Gaddafi decided that he didn't want the United States doing to him what we did to Saddam Hussein, and all of a sudden he was our bestest buddy in the whole world, and he turned over all his plans for development of nuclear weapons, and he helped hunt down Islamic crazies, because Gaddafi had no use for Islamic crazies like the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all the rest of that pack of lunatics, as they were a constant threat to his power. So he allied himself with the United States. Unfortunately, we were his only ally, and you're in trouble when our State Department and our intelligence agencies pick you as their friend, and we'll be your only friend. And what happened in the end was England and France decided not to go along with this, and launched a NATO operation without the United States against Gaddafi. And the United States did nothing to help Gaddafi with either intelligence or military aid or supplies. They just sort of made a public display of, yeah, we're your bestest buddy, and they pumped as much intelligence out of him as they could, and Gaddafi basically got nothing in return. And when the revolt blew up in Benghazi, which is the location of this novel, Gaddafi was in a position to stop it, but French and British jet planes and bombers destroyed his entire mechanized army that was heading for Benghazi in a not very well publicized, but very reminiscent of the Highway of Death during the first Iraq War, in which thousands upon thousands of armored vehicles were destroyed, and basically Gaddafi's army was neutered. It's in this atmosphere of Libya turning from a secular dictatorship into a Islamic fundamentalist hellscape, which it is today. Libya is very much has no government. It's Mad Max. It's one crazy Islamic radical group fighting against another. There's a lot of tribal stuff going on. There's a lot of racial genocide going on. None of this is covered in the news because it's a major F-up by our State Department and Intelligence Bureau, and nobody wants to talk about it. But this novel puts this main character, Malco Linga, he's a great Bondian type character, James Bond type character. He's an Austrian prince who's broke. He has no money. He's bankrupt. And so he takes contracts from the CIA to go around the world using his charm, influence, and incredible skills at lethality, very much like James Bond, to take on the enemies of freedom everywhere. And to say the novels are briskly paced doesn't even cover it. I mean, these novels move like a bullet. There's lots of violence. There's lots of sex. And if you're a prude, stay away from these books, because they're written by a Frenchman and he doesn't turn away from writing the sex stuff. But the thing that was most remarkable about this novel to me was, I'll briefly give you the plot. Malco is installed by the CIA to seduce the girlfriend of a former Libyan prince. He's the grandson of the king of Libya, who was overthrown by the coup that Gaddafi took part in, way back when. And the United States wants to install him as a new king of Libya. And Malco is sent to seduce his English fashion model girlfriend. Does it sound like a Bond novel? In order to get information from her as to this guy's travels and state of mind and all the rest of it. And from there, it's just craziness. Desert chases and action and explosions and gunfights and intrigue and murder and lots of sex. No wonder they picked this up for a paperback series in the 70s. But what's really remarkable about these novels is the depth of research. This guy writes with a real authority about these events, which fascinated me because I wrote a novel set in this exact same time period. My second SEAL Team 6 novel was set around the time of Muammar Gaddafi's death. In fact, it was, my novel came out first. I know my novel came out first because when I started writing it, Gaddafi was not dead. But I was betting that Gaddafi would be dead by the time I finished writing this novel, because I was following the shenanigans of our State Department. And I thought, this guy doesn't have long to live, because we are hanging him out on the very, very end of, like an ornament at the very, very end of a branch of a Christmas tree. I mean, he does not have long to live. So I started writing a novel knowing that my climax would be Gaddafi's death. And then just a few days after I wrote his death, I made up a death for him. He actually died. And so I went and rewrote it so it more accurately presented what happened in real life. And I'm fascinated because de Villiers writes this novel in that same period, but is obviously a whole lot more conversant with what was going on. I mean, he's got, people names and Islamic splinter groups and everything else that even if he made them up, which I don't think he did, he's writing with a tremendous amount of authority, and also presenting the Muslim Brotherhood, more of the Muslim Brotherhood's role in the downfall of Libya, and also the Muslim Brotherhood's role throughout the Middle East. And this book kind of predicts years before it happened, 10 years before it happened, what would occur in Gaza back in October. That was coming. So, these are, crazy, pulpish spy novels loaded with, shoot 'em ups and bang bang and kiss kiss, but they're also smartly written, and written with some degree of knowledge actually a tremendous degree of knowledge of what was going on in the world at the time. I ordered a whole bunch more of these. I'm going to read a bunch more of these because this guy kind of fascinates me. And anybody can write 200 novels about the same character. Hats off, buddy. If you kept up this quality throughout the series, you're a hell of a writer. And I'm going to read more. So that's it. If this kind of stuff is your cup of tea, if Ian Fleming's James Bond is your idea of a good time, you got to check out the Malco books by Gerard de Villiers. And that's it for me. Thanks for watching. I will keep reading and I'll come back and tell you all about it.